then your true self just naturally blossoms and it doesn't need too much enhancement when it can just flow.
If you're interested in all things style and maybe deeper levels of explanations, what works, what doesn't, like the Kibbe body types, color seasons, but also 16 personalities, astrology, essences, if that's your field of interest, maybe you've already come across the channel The Aligned Lover here on YouTube. I asked Nona if she wanted to do a little interview because I had a few questions, and here we are. I started complimenting her for her deep dives, her gentle style, and also her vast vocabulary for everything clothes and style. How did she came to be such a deep diving keynote stylist?
First, thank you for all of the amazing compliments. I feel so seen. I guess it's just always been in my nature. In high school, I remember having these conversations with my friends like, if this person was a color, what color would they be? And just always having some sort of correspondence system. I'm just obsessed with comparing things to other things. And I don't know if you ever went on this website that was really popular maybe like 15 years ago. It was called Blog Things, and it had about 200 personality tests. I would just keep taking the personality test to see if I could figure out all of the answers. Like, not even trying to figure out my personality, just to see how, it would figure out the other person's personality. So I'm just kind of obsessed with seeing how things correspond.
I see. And that really shines through because you make so many connections. That's so interesting. What do you love so much about the body type? That seems
Yeah.
quite predominant. What for you makes it stand out?
Well, I just love that it focuses more on enhancing the silhouette rather than balancing it. Like with a lot of what I grew up hearing is you need to balance your chest so that it looks bigger, and then your waist looks smaller, and your hips look slimmer. Growing up in the 2000s, where it's like really bad for your body image. And then this Kibbe system, it's just so great for embracing what your silhouette is so that you're not ashamed if your shoulders are broader or if your shoulders are skinnier. It helps you celebrate if you have like maybe a more robust figure or maybe a more slender, sleek figure without having that kind of patronizing or condescending tone of most body positivity, like, A for effort, you're beautiful as you are. It's like, but why? So this one is really good for telling you why you're beautiful as you are.
What do we really discover about ourselves when we find out our body type? What happens when we are dressing exactly like it all fits together, but what happens? Grace or what is this?
Oh, that's such a great question. I like to compare it to being on stage or in a movie when your character wears exactly the right costume and the dialogue is so beautifully written for that character. It just feels authentic. And then it just allows like the performance or the energy to flow unhindered. Because I think when you wear things that don't enhance who you are, it takes energy to hold that up, or it creates kind of like a blockage. So I guess I have a very minimalistic approach to it where I think if you take away everything that doesn't work, then your true self just naturally blossoms and it doesn't need too much enhancement when it can just flow.
Okay, so that does sound a little bit different maybe than how David Kibbe and maybe other stylists would apply the theory with a lot of bells and drums.
Yeah, I think well they set the stage because they really focus on the star power. It was very much Hollywood inspired, which is so fascinating because they really focus on creating that brand. But I know that most people don't want to feel like a brand and they're not trying to constantly like churn out a signature feeling. They just want to be themselves. So I'm kind of like going on the other end of the spectrum, seeing what do you really need to express your body type without having to create too much of like a corporate structure, if that makes sense.
Do you believe that as a child we gravitate spontaneously to the colors and maybe even styles that suit us best?
I That's such an interesting question. For some people, for sure, yes. For me, I was kind of like a rebel. My mom told me that, pink, she didn't like pink. So, of course, I wanted to wear all pink because I was that kind of child. But I imagine that if you were less argumentative than me, you would like look inwards more and then gravitate towards what you really like instead of just rebelling.
Right.
But I can definitely see that, not in terms of just style, but like the kind of feeling that makes you most alive when you're a child definitely reflects as an adult. So even if perhaps the colors or the textures are not very connected, maybe the underlying feeling is.
It is quite a time-consuming endeavor to curate a
Oh, yeah.
varied wardrobe that is interesting. So there are also people who are solving this for, say, their peace of mind and convenience by just wearing some type of uniform, like black clothes, so they just don't need to think in the morning what to wear. What do you feel they're missing out on?
If they happen to be a winter dramatic classic, then they're just very lucky. Otherwise, maybe they're wearing things that don't energize them as much. There's something to be said for sure about convenience and discipline and formula, but I do believe that every time you look into your wardrobe, if you have some sort of personal connection with it that's beyond efficiency, then it really just gives you little doses of dopamine. It's kind of like, how some people really love to look at their nails and it makes them happy and it brings them kind of a moment of more presence. I feel like your clothing and your style has the same effect.
You're a style consultant, so people can come to you for advice. So, would that be maybe a shortcut for someone who just doesn't want to put in the effort?
Yeah, definitely a shortcut because I think it's quite rare to have someone give you feedback about how you're perceived. A lot of life is spent trying to guess how others perceive us. And then even if we ask, someone probably isn't going to give us a very honest answer or a very structured answer. So that's what I love so much about what I do. I get to give people insight that they normally never get a chance to hear. And I do offer like very flexible services if someone wants to come back and send me more outfits after, the initial styling. I'm always happy to do that. And it's even more fun when you develop that relationship because you begin to know what your client likes, what they don't like, what they feel the most alive in, and it's just a lot more interesting.
And do you actually pick out outfits for them, like really where to buy them as well?
I do some personal shopping in a few of my services, but what I like to emphasize more is figuring out the item so that you can better identify it, whether you want to thrift it, which I do.
Okay.
I buy everything secondhand, and I do feel uncomfortable listing links to very, I would say, accessible items because in a way, I don't want to contribute to this culture where we're just, buying 20 items online. Let me just try it on and then send it back if it doesn't fit. And then, it's like probably going to go into a landfill or they're going to burn it. It doesn't cycle the way that they want us to think it does. And if I can encourage people to just try on clothes in the store first, that's already great for me because one, you can't tell what an item is going to look like unless you try it on. Like people have this expectation now, especially with like AI and a lot of different reviews online, that they can just see one person wearing it and then they'll know it looks so good on them. The style journey really requires you to put in the hours at the mall, in the dressing
Yeah.
room, just try on clothes even if you don't buy them.
Yeah, I don't know if people know what they're up to once they start embark on this journey. It is so involving. Yeah, I asked because, for example, I really like your, what is it, like casual wardrobe
I
options
like a
per body
kind of
type.
minimal-ish capsule wardrobe.
Minimalish, yeah. And I just love that. Like for me, theatrical romantic, it's just like, yes, 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 that would be great. But then I go and try and find that. And that's a whole other story, of course. We need to put in the time and the effort.
But I think that's what makes curating your style even more valuable because you really put in the work to do it. It's like learning to cook really well. You can't just like download the recipes into your pan. You've got to do it.
But of course, there's a whole industry spinning a wheel in front of people's eyes that you can go the lazy way and just order that magnificent outfit. What if people want to find out themselves their body type and find that difficult? For instance, myself, I saw myself between a soft classic and a theatrical romantic, and I just couldn't gauge like where does balance stop and curve start. There must be a line somewhere. And I feel that's a frustration of quite some people, that these systems are not always so logical or replicable. What is your advice to people trying to sort out what type they are?
Well, yeah, definitely. I definitely caution against trying to take an overly logical, scientific approach to it because it's a soft skill. It's more of an art than a science. You can't measure someone's every like dimension, put it into a calculator, and come up with an answer. It's more about, I would say, the best advice I could give is like figure out the momentum or the rhythm that works best on you. And by that, I mean, how does fabric drape on you in a way that makes you feel seen and satisfied? Like if you took a big scarf, how would you naturally like to drape it around your body? Do you want it to make it very tight halter top and like do a little like sarong skirt, or do you want to do more of like a very clean swoop around one shoulder? You have to play with how you like fabric to move on you. For me, I like when fabric is fitted but also a little bit more fluid. I feel very trapped when something is very heavy and tailored because it's just very opposite of me and my body. But to other people, having that support could feel like it is like an underline or a bold to their very strong presence and silhouettes. So yeah, it's a very like metaphorical.
And potentially also something that takes a lot of time to live
Yes.
with and to sit with. So that is not a very precise or specific advice. Well,
Yeah.
actually it is. It is with the sarong or with the scar. It is specific, but the outcome is just like you have to feel it, you have to sense it.
I liken it to if you had to imagine what kind of, let's say, painting you are, what frame would work best for you? Are you a watercolor that would look really lovely in like a very delicate wooden frame? Are you like a Rothko that needs just like a blank wall all around it and tons of space? Are you like a little sketchbook and like you need all of these little pages? Basically, you just have to keep thinking, what am I like? And then patterns will start to emerge, but it really does take a lot of self-reflection.
Interesting. How can it be an empowering process rather than feeling somewhat lost, taking in lots of information from all sides? Do you have something that can help people to sort of also bring back the focus to what comes from the inside?
I would say instead of asking, is this right? Are these my lines? Does this look good? First, does the fabric feel good? Because, that's kind of a biased answer because I do try to get my clients to wear more natural fibers because I just don't think polyester works well and it doesn't look very good outside of a photo shoot a lot of the time. Does it feel good? Can you move the way you want to move in it? And does it suit your lifestyle? Because with a lot of my clients, they want to create looks for 5% of their life, and then they ignore, what they actually do from day to day. They don't celebrate the mundane, and they focus too much on, the fantasy. But to ground yourself in this process, I think you really have to think about the more mundane aspects of life, and then those are elevated in the way.
Hence your content about somewhat casual, minimal outfits, maybe as well.
I do try to be practical, even though a lot of my ideas are a little bit more like airy. I do try to add some practicality.
Totally. And I like that combination of both. What connections have you found between the different systems?
There's so many, but I would say the ones that come to mind, mostly because I've been working on my Aries rising series most recently, is a lot of Aries risings are, they fall into like a very yin yang push and pull. I don't see a lot of Aries who are romantics or soft classics or like anything very, very yin. There's always like that zesty thing about them. Libras, Libra placements, so many classics. It's like not even funny.
And that's so logical.
Right?
And
It's
it's true then. Yeah,
so
wow.
funny. Um, Capricorns, I see them a lot dramatics and classics as well, especially dramatic classics. There's just so much structure. So it's really interesting to see that play out. I can't give you like a one-to-one
Mhm.
correspondence, but there's definitely like themes and patterns.
And how does all this play together or play out in one person? Are all these categories just different facets of one person? Or is it like a cocktail and it's because that and that is there together that brings about, is there like a chronological, hierarchical order of things? How do you see that?
I wish I could find that hierarchy. I would love to figure that out. But yeah, as you said, I think there are different facets of you, but I compare them to like different lenses, like you're one light or one energy, and then when you focus that light through different lenses, you get different facets, but they're still somewhat related. I will say that just for being practical, dressing for your body type and your color season will set the foundation. And then you can focus on looking to more like nuanced influences for like details or refining themes. But if you go too far into like kinds of aesthetic patterns, then you're just not very grounded and you buy things because they have details that you like, but when you put them on and put them all together, the foundation is not there, and then you have a wardrobe full of things that you can't wear.
So you have to be the cocktail maker yourself and play with all these different elements and check out all the videos with you with all the practical advice and then go to a real shop and then try them on and maybe not immediately buy them. I don't know what your
Yeah.
take is on that, but like
Oh yeah.
maybe go home again and then think about it, see some picture maybe that you made of yourself in the fitting room, then go back. Is that something you would recommend doing as well?
Definitely. I always encourage people to wait before they buy, especially if they just had like a service with me. I don't recommend people going and finishing like say my 6 week program and then going to the mall right away. Buy those items. Like you need time for it to sink in, for your needs to like become more known. And when you can reflect on all of these pictures, you see like nuances that you don't see if you just buy right away. It's like, when you draw something and then you put your book down and then the next day you look at it and then you notice all of your mistakes. And then you notice some things that are really beautiful. It's just like that. I know it's really annoying, but these things take time because you think I got the answers right away and I know it's gonna look great on me. Like I have all of the formulas, and then you put it together, and you remember you're at the mercy of what you can access, like what's in your size, what's in your color, what's available to you. And in that way, it's almost like a little bit spiritual because you open yourself up to like, okay, I'm gonna get the piece that, is meant for me. There's like a little bit of like a things are out of your control. It's definitely something that's emphasized when you get deeper into this style curation.
Wow. That is so polar opposite of what we all think, right? We
Yeah,
go
with the
maybe
just
some,
buy, and
yeah, like retail therapy and formulas that you can copy paste and
mhm.
following trends, and but it's not even coming down and making it a bit more real. It's like really a whole journey that you need to give all your time and patience.
It's like growing a garden, you know, you plant the seeds and then slowly the sprouts come up and then you still have to take out the weeds, but then you will have your beautiful garden. It just takes time.
So it's quite a commitment, and maybe it doesn't sound like this is for everybody. It's more people
No,
who
yeah,
are interested in really mastering this part of their life, this aspect of life.
I would say so. I mean, there's definitely room for, you know, people who just want a few tips and tricks here and there. There's so much for them to like pick up, especially, you know, I can tell when someone just wants a few tricks and tips to make their wardrobe more efficient but personal. So there's always that level, and they can get so much help from these systems. But if you really want that, like, that feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen. I look in my wardrobe and it's an extension of me. That takes a lot of time.
Yeah, that sounds like an expansive state to be in when it all kind of when the puzzle pieces are falling together. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. I heard you say in a video, and I think it's so true, that before choosing a stylist to consult, that see
Mm-hmm.
if you agree with their style.
Mm-hmm.
But how do people find out what, for example, your style would be?
I guess if they just watch enough of my videos or any content creators' videos, if they like their language, if their language is like, you know, speaking to them, if they like their approach, that's a good way to approach it. But I think if you are looking for an affordable service, do not just go for the most popular creator who will give you like a formula. Make sure that whoever you approach is doing it because they like care about creating this feeling of knowing someone, if that makes sense. Because I've seen like examples of some creators just giving like one person one outfit. I'm like, that's all? You're just giving them one outfit example? Um, yeah. The thoroughness is definitely important to look at too. Because I get it, like these style services, they're not like $1 million, but they're not like exactly like $20, you know? It is an investment. So, and I know from your journey, it's like it's
Yeah.
It's yeah, that makes me so sad. But yeah, just having that thoroughness in the person's free work will reflect on their paid work.
Interesting. And maybe just to finish, unless you have something else that hasn't been covered that you'd like to talk about, just like completely out of the box. So, all these different types that shed some light on who we are, the yin yang balance, and so on. But what is that actually? What is behind that? Is that like the stardust we're made of? Did we decide as spirits before coming into this incarnation that we wanted to be like this or like that? Or can you say anything about what you think that there is behind all those characteristics of us?
Oh, I love this question. I definitely think that in a way we do kind of choose the elements and makeup that will like incarnate into if you want to approach it from like choosing who you want to be on this earth plane. And I do think that our appearance reflects our elemental balance. So for example, someone with a lot of water in them looks more, you know, rounded and like full and soft, whereas someone with a lot of fire is a lot more lean and dry. And I do think that your appearance reflects your energy and what you do. Even if we take a very practical example, if you're always working out and if you're always like say a boxer, you're always punching things, that's going to be locked into your instinct. You're going to be a little bit more of an active, very responsive, dynamic person, whereas if you're more of like a Tai Chi person, you're probably going to approach things differently. So I think there's something to say that the form and the function are linked, but you're also equipped with so many choices in life to sculpt your body and your energy in a way. So your body gives you the, I guess, raw material and your tendencies, which is, I guess, karma. And then you get to, shape it however you like. Well, how do they say this thing, you get to customize your avatar, but of course that also has limits. So you have to work with what you're given.
Yeah, but I would suppose that we also need to respect our
Hmm.
constitution. Like, if you're a very watery person and you start boxing every day, maybe you're gonna get ill or something, no? Don't you think there's also something like a certain harmony to respect?
Oh yeah, definitely. For example, I'm more of like a perky person, so I'm good with like short bursts of energy, but if you ask me to like run a marathon, I think I would just like perish. And it um uh, I'm like a pizza in Ayurveda, so I'm very fiery. So if you give me something that requires more earth energy, which I have like none of, it's bad news. It's just bad news for me. So yeah, that's a very interesting question. And to like relate it to style, I guess if you support your constitution with your style, then I guess you can just be an even better version of yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you very much
Well,
for
thank you so much. This was really great chatting with you.
bye. What did you think of this interview? Did you like it? Did you hear things that are shedding light on areas in your life? For me, this was quite eye-opening, even though some of it was more about the metaphysical side of things. It's a reality check, funny enough. It's a reality check to understand that this process doesn't happen overnight, that it will require our attention and a commitment, and it's a learning process, and it's just life. It's just funny that it is so intertwined with our daily life, because we need to choose clothes every morning again, or evening when you go out as well. It's super intriguing, super interesting. And yeah, I think with someone like Nona, we can set the bar quite high, but at the same time, take example in how you can approach it in a relaxed way. So set the bar high, be relaxed about it, and yeah, don't have those impulse based, stressy shopping experiences or whatever. Just let's take our time and move with it. Maybe you're already doing that, but it is helpful for me, maybe for you as well.